The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah!
Go Cowboys!
This is Talkin Cowboys. Streaming live from the Dallas Cowboys World Headquarters at the Star in Frisco.
Pollard streaks in. Touchdown. Parsons has sacked it. Prescott keeps it, and he bangs it in for the touchdown.
And now your hosts, Isaiah Stanback, Nick Harris, John Machota, and Kyle Yeomans.
It's a wonderful Wednesday edition of Talking Cowboys presented by Black Rifle Coffee Company, live from the Star in Frisco, Texas, in the SWBC studios, as we welcome you into a preview of the Cowboys defense versus the upcoming Philadelphia Eagles offense. We've got a lot to get into here over the next 45 minutes. Glad you're with us, Talking Cowboys Nation. We've got Nick Harris, John Machota, Isaiah Stanback, Chris Beam in the back. I'm Kyle Yeomans. Gentlemen, how we doing today?
Doing good.
Doing all right?
Hey, Rangers are up 3-1.
Rangers up 3-1,
Opportunity
baby.
to get it done tonight.
Chance to close it out with big game
good.
Nate on the mound. Nathan Eovaldi going for the Rangers
Where's the
tonight.
game at tonight?
It's in Arizona. I know.
Just wait till you come home.
Don't you want to go 11-0 on the road?
I was about to say, I
Pretty
Care
wild.
about that? Care about the ring, buddy.
Exactly.
get it done.
Exactly. Get the ring.
Yeah.
Get it
you don't
done
have to
on the
get,
road.
You don't have to get on a
Before you get home.
flight to go celebrate.
Yep.
Like, you rather just drive to the crib and go celebrate.
Yeah. Or
Just turn up in the locker room and then drive home.
I mean,
Well, I don't know if
Beggars
you
can't be
drive.
choosers.
You can.
I don't know if you should drive home if you're turning up.
yeah.
Oh,
Maybe
good
have
idea.
There you
somebody
go.
drive you home.
Have a-
idea.
yeah, exactly. You know what I'm saying.
They just won a World Series. Those guys can afford an Uber. We'll
Yeah.
make it work. It'll happen.
But
But
I didn't know what the sponsor was, so.
I
share.
think
A ride
so.
share.
I don't even know. I don't know that. Actually, I do know that one. I think it's an NFL thing.
It is.
But yeah, Cowboys quiet at the trade deadline. The Rangers bats not so quiet in Game 5 or
we wanna
Game
hear your
4.
take.
Let's talk about it a little bit. That's the number one news and note, I would assume, is the fact that the Cowboys are
It is.
not doing anything or have not done anything and won't do anything in terms of the NFL trade deadline. There's a lot of frustration amongst Cowboys fans.
Are you
out there.
frustrated, Kyle?
A little bit.
A little.
I don't think I'm as frustrated as everybody else, but I would have liked them to make a move. We've talked about this 100 times.
Yes, we did.
I would like them to make a move. I would have loved them to make a
Yeah,
move.
you have to speak in past tense now.
It's past tense
There you
now. They didn't. I'm not saying that they're just completely done. Oh my gosh, let's pack this thing up. Let's go home. There's a lot of people that are doing that.
No,
I saw
that's
one
silly.
content creator that did do that.
That's dumb.
He said he was like, it's never been more over than it has been now. That's not the case. There's a lot of games left to be
If you
played.
didn't watch anything but the Cowboys, you could possibly think that.
Maybe.
But if you keep up with the rest of the NFL, it's kind of hard to sit there and think that anything's over right now.
Yeah,
I mean,
nothing's over.
Everything is wide open.
You still got a solid team. It's just you would just like we talked about yesterday. You would just like to see them just push things over the edge. Just load up. Why not?
And that was without other teams getting better too.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about them. I mean, you can't control what other teams do. That's the reality. And I was upset because of the lack of movement from the Cowboys organization. We don't know what was attempted. We don't know what phone calls were made, what phone calls were received, I guess we should probably say, because we don't make phone calls. But,
you do.
No, but, other teams, you can't control other teams. I'm less concerned about the other teams. Now, I can tip my hat off to the other teams for continuing to be aggressive and filling their voids and adding to depth to their rooms and creating more dominance in terms of personnel on their rosters. Kudos to them. We just would have liked to seen that from the Dallas Cowboys. So I know a lot of people. I know I posted something yesterday, and I never post on Twitter. I
was about to say.
Or X. I never post, but I had to post. Yeah, I was angry. Yeah, I was angry. It was unsettling to see other teams just loading up. And people were like, oh, well, you couldn't have got that guy because in division. I'm not talking about getting those particular guys. I'm talking about making those type of moves. Like those guys were literally just boom. Let's take it over the edge. Seattle, boom. Philly, boom. Who else?
San Francisco.
San Francisco, boom.
Buffalo.
Buffalo, boom. Who else?
Everybody.
Everybody.
Name another one.
Name another one. So I mean, I don't know. That's my frustration. I am by no means saying that Dallas does not have what they need to be competitive to go chase a ring. Not saying that at all. Let me lay that out there before anybody has any speculation. These guys still have a solid roster, but there is always room to improve your roster.
Can I ask you something from a player standpoint?
Yes.
What do you think it's like today in the locker room because they didn't make a move? Do you think that is it good, bad, indifferent? What do you think?
It's indifferent.
Yeah.
It's business as usual. I mean, it's one of those things where you look at it and you're like, yeah, we sure could have used that, or I wish we would have took our shot. But oh well, here we go. Let's go to practice. It's like, this is what we got. Like, I'm good with what we have, but it would have been nice to have another juggernaut somewhere on this roster.
Because the one I think of is just like, of the notable players that moved, most of the ones I'm trying to think off the top of my head are defensive linemen, and I don't see them needing a defensive lineman here. I'm not saying I shouldn't say it that way. I could see them in the room thinking that they don't need anybody else on the defensive line. So them seeing, they didn't make a move. Well, we didn't need to make a move. We got the guys here.
No, yeah, I think I believe that sentiment. But if you're on the team and you add another dog to your meeting room, nobody's going to be like, you know what I'm saying? Now, you might be like, dang, my playing time just got cut a little bit. Or guess what? I got to step my game up a little bit more. Otherwise, I'm going to lose some snaps. But nobody's ever going to be like, I can't believe they added more talent. Darn it.
Really?
I can't believe we're more dominant than we were yesterday.
Damn.
You know what I'm saying? Like, nobody in San Francisco world is complaining.
I still
right
think
now.
there's some guys on the team that are. I can't speak to necessarily this team, but teams I've covered in the past where guys would be like, I can't believe they added that guy. I could have done, give me more opportunities and stuff like that. And as a professional athlete, there's a part of me that can understand why you would think that way.
Why does Dallas's defensive line, when it comes to you needing to pass against them, why do they feel so confident?
When you're saying the opponent has to pass?
When the opponent has to pass. Why as a unit, the defensive line, why do they feel so confident?
Because of no interior pressure.
Huh?
Because of no interior pressure?
You're talking about
No.
Why are the Cowboys'
Why the Cowboys' confidence? When they step on the field, and you have to pass your way back in the game
because
against
there's
Dallas.
waves.
It's aggressive.
There's
It's
waves of
Waves,
people.
right?
Yeah.
I look next to me, he's a dog. I look next to me, he's a dog. When I got to come out, guess what? Dogs are coming in. Like that's why. So that room together feels invincible. When it comes to the pass rush, they feel invincible. So that's what I'm talking about. When you start adding pieces to rooms, you start creating a level of confidence that can't be matched. Right? Right now, when you look at the interior defensive line, what team would you say has the best interior defensive line?
Eagles.
The Eagles, hands down. And when they step on the field, I guarantee you, they're like, nobody's running against us. Like, I look to my right, I look to my left. Yeah, no, they're not running against us. Guess what? And when I need a breather, I don't feel as if I have to keep going, right, and trying to exert myself past my ability to be able to continue to perform, because I can step out for a minute and know that my dogs that are coming in the game, they're still going to perform too. Right, so when I get tired, I don't feel bad taking a breather and letting those guys go eat, and then we just keep this whole thing going. Right, everybody stays at over 75% exertion, just good. Right, everybody positive plays. Dallas, I feel they feel that same way when it comes to pass rush. Right, but I don't think they feel that way in some of the other areas. Right, when you look at the 49ers right now, the 49ers they just did what the Eagles have done, except for they did it with pass rushers.
Yeah.
Instead of doing it with interior guys, like the Eagles have been focusing on the past few years, they focus on pass rushers. So now it doesn't matter if you shut down Bosa. Now it doesn't matter if you shut down Armstead. Now you got to worry about freaking Randy Gregory now, and you got to worry about freaking Chase Young. Like, and those are waves. And when you're as an offensive lineman don't get to do what?
Take a breather.
They don't get to take a breather. They get no substitutes. Defensive linemen do. So defensive linemen can stay fresh all the time based upon personnel groupings and rotations, and they're going against offensive linemen that are continually losing productivity because they're getting more gassed.
I feel like it's a case-by-case basis because Micah Parsons on one end is going to say, man, would have loved to have some other dogs in here, would have had some other guys in here. But if you're, let's say, I'm looking down the list.
Lower on the totem pole?
Sam Williams.
lower.
Yeah, Sam Williams.
Absolutely.
Sam Williams is probably like, I can do that.
I'm good.
Let me
Woo.
step up. Give me some
Absolutely.
reps. Give me this. Give me that.
Yep.
Same thing. I mean, Jonathan Hankins right now, he's about as solidified as anybody on the
Facts.
interior of that defensive line. But further down the list, Neville Gallimore might be like, give me some run. Give me some run instead. It's case by case.
Absolutely.
Maybe it's locker room by locker room because I think this team is different than any other team in the country, and vice versa. Every team in the country is different than every other team in the country as well. I feel like there was a pretty good indication that this team wanted somebody to come in. At least one move, something to shore up a spot of weakness. Because it may not look like it now, but down the line, it's going to come back, and there's going to be a moment where somebody gets injured, where something happens in a long 17-game NFL season.
Yep.
And somebody's going to look up and say, man, I wish we would have made a deal at the deadline. And there were chances to do so at position groups, maybe not specific instances with trades, but position groups, the door was open to get a deal done.
I had a conversation with my daughter this morning. She has a field trip today, right? And we get in the car. They're going to the Arboretum or something like that, right?
It's fun.
Yeah. So they're going on a field trip. And I asked her, I say, do you have a good enough jacket? And she was like, it's not even cold. I'm like, okay, so you don't feel cold right now, but should you need a jacket, you're not going to be in a position to have a jacket, right? So right now you feel perfectly fine, but if you get cold, you're not in a situation because you did not prepare, right? You did not prepare yourself
She said, Dad, we're not doing this right now.
Hey, listen, for the potential to be cold.
Stay ready so you have to get ready.
So,
Get a jacket.
Hey, listen, so Dallas, right now, they feel good. Dallas feels good right now about certain aspects of their roster. However, should something happen, they are not prepared to weather those storms. That's the reality.
I do believe Mike McCarthy, if he was here, he would argue with you about the Packers team that he won the Super Bowl with. He brings it up all the time about how the depth,
next man up, all that stuff
played a factor, and other guys stepped up that maybe earlier in the season you didn't see a role for. And I'm only saying this stuff because I'm with you on 99.9% of what you're saying, but I also don't think it sounds great on a podcast if everybody just agrees. So I'm just trying to play devil's advocate a little bit just to give you a little bit different perspective. But I'm just so you know, like, I agree with just about every single thing that you've said the last 2 days about this.
If you lose
and
Jonathan
Cowboys
Hankins,
fans have every right to feel disappointed right now.
if you lose Jonathan Hankins, what are you guys feeling?
Yeah, not great.
Bubble guts.
Not great.
The bubblies, right?
Fortunately, you do have a guy like Mozzie Smith who's at least strong in there, but it's going to be a learning curve.
That would be a baptism
Is
by
he
fire.
is he ready to fill the void of a Jonathan Hankins?
No.
So that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Things like that, right? Like there are position groups in this and on this roster where you're good right now. And you're crossing your fingers and you're praying and you're hoping and wishing that nothing happens, right? And nobody wants anything to happen. But you're not prepared for if something does happen.
Going off of something that John just brought up with the depth that was needed from McCarthy's Packers team, right? And the Super Bowl that they won, they needed players to step up into new roles that weren't foreseen. Is it an encouraging thing or a not so encouraging thing to look at this team right now as they stand going into Week 9, saying that there's not really a whole lot of those guys that you expected or maybe didn't expect to come through that haven't stepped up yet? I think the number one guy would probably be DaRon Bland, right? But even DaRon Bland had 5 picks last year. He still showed last year that he was going to be a significant starter on this defense. The way he's done it this year is, of course, a surprise. But outside of that, name one guy that you didn't expect to come into the season and play a massive role and has done that.
Marquise Bell.
Yeah, Marquise Bell would clearly be the one. The only thing I would say, though, about because you mentioned Bland, I will say at the cornerback position, if one of those corners were to go down and it looked like Jacksonville from last year, and you're just bringing in guys off the street, that's
no.
A lot of people will be pointing back to this. You know, a lot of people, Nashawn Wright and Noah.
Those are the guys. Yeah.
Anthony
a lot
Brown's
of people.
a free agent again.
Is he?
Yeah.
Interesting. Somebody on the text line from the 404 said the Cowboys can still pick up Bo Scarborough. I don't know about that.
I haven't heard that name in a while.
Yeah, I like it.
Sorry, I cut you off though about Marquise Bell. Go ahead.
No. I was just saying Marquise Bell was another one.
But that's probably the one, right?
Yeah.
Because like I said, DaRon Bland, you could argue that he already showed it last year. But is that an encouraging thing or a discouraging thing? The fact that you haven't had those names arise yet, and the fact that, I mean, we're 7 games into the year, but still 10 to go.
I think it's not so necessarily guys arising. There are guys in positions to rise. Like we've talked about the running back situation. There's still an opportunity for Rico Dowdle to be able to prove to be a change of pace back. And sure, I like what Rico has done when he's been given opportunities, but I'd like to see more of those opportunities. And I'd like to see, that kind of that carry split get a little bit more even, not 50-50 by any means, but I'd like to see like a 65-35 there, just because I want to keep Pollard fresh, as we've mentioned many times throughout leading up to the trade deadline, and potentially wanting to get Leonard Fournette, and then he goes to the Bills. I'm trying to think of other guys. There's Mozzie Smith in the defensive interior. Again, that's just another instance of, he's going to have to play up to that level and be the guy to to be able to step into a role like that. Augie Garrido, a Texas baseball head coach for a long time, 35, 40 years, won a ton of College World Series. He always said famously, he's like, a guy can't be a hero if you don't let him. So I want to see those opportunities for those young guys.
Well, so for me, the position I look at is offensive line, and that's where I have the biggest question marks, just like we did going in the season about the depth. I will say that's a position I didn't expect them to upgrade at the trade deadline. That's a position.
There's one team that did, right?
Yeah, it's not very likely though that you're going to upgrade.
I didn't see that coming
on the offensive line to a level of what this team needs, and that's one spot where there are a lot of opportunities for some young guys to really step up. And I don't think up to this point we've seen those young players step up to where you feel like, oh, yeah, if one of these starters goes down for the rest of the season, one of these young guys are going to step in there and you're going to be fine. I think that you would probably have some pretty big concerns if that happened.
What position groups outside of defensive line do you feel like if you lost a guy, lost a starter, a key contributor, that you're like, yo, we feel good about next man up?
Safety,
yeah.
Who comes in?
Well, you just have Wanye Thomas.
Yeah, your linebacker.
I'm not saying I'd feel great.
Yeah, it makes you thinner, but at least you're there. At least you have guys that can fill in.
This position, I'm not saying I'd feel great, but just based on history and how it went last year when this problem arose, quarterback.
Okay.
Yeah. It would be high on that list, but other than that, yeah, you have a point. Just because the depth is not really thick with this team. San Francisco is experiencing that problem right now. They're having some key injuries in certain places, and guys can't step up, and it's bothered them. So,
yeah, it's a conversation. The deadline has now come and gone. We're done talking about it until, of course, a situation like that arises, and maybe there is a lack of depth at a certain position, but right now you can't do anything about it.
Nope.
It's done.
It's done.
Let's move on. When we come back here on Talking Cowboys, we're going to preview the Dallas defense and what they have coming up against this Philadelphia offense. Plenty of weapons around the table, and then stick around, of course, in the third segment. We'll hear about around the NFL with John Machota. More Talking Cowboys right after this.
Todd thought it would be secure to jog in the cheetah savanna. Todd believed the big cat repellent he bought online was reliable. And now, Todd is trying to be faster than this cheetah that can run 80 miles per hour. But the good news is, Todd has AT&T 5G that is fast, reliable, and secure. And he learned the best thing to do is stop running and toss her the backpack with the beef stew. AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure. It's not complicated.
5G requires compatible plan and device. 5G may not be available in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
Black Rifle Coffee Company serves premium coffee to people who love America. When you drink Black Rifle coffee, you are directly supporting veterans, law enforcement, and first responders in your community. Black Rifle's expert roasters love coffee almost as much as Texas loves football, so it makes sense that America's Coffee partnered with America's team. Go online at blackriflecoffee.com and fuel up with the official coffee of the Dallas Cowboys. That's blackriflecoffee.com to fuel up today.
Cowboys fans, after that move, we've just coined the term Rowdy Replay. Let's roll back the tape.
Okay, there's our mascot Rowdy cheering on the boys, and now he's on his phone, on his Bank of America mobile banking app?
Staying on top of his finances with his virtual financial assistant, Erica.
Bank of America's digital tools are so impressive. Cowboys fans just can't stop banking. Learn more at bankofamerica.com/can't stop banking.
Erica is only available in the English language. You must download the latest version of the mobile banking app, only available on select mobile devices. Message and data rates may apply. Member FDIC.
Welcome back into Dear Doctor, the show where I answer life's questions with an ice-cold can of Dr. Pepper. Sheila, let's hear from our next caller, would you?
Dear Doctor, my friend supported me during a tough time, but what's the right gift that says, thanks for being a shoulder to cry on?
Okay, this one's easy. I say give her a delicious Dr. Pepper. Nothing says, thanks, girl, better than a one-of-a-kind soda. Yes, any Dr. Pepper flavor will do. Now, just a reminder that I don't need to be a real doctor to know that Dr. Pepper is the one you deserve.
Back to Talkin' Cowboys.
Back here on Talking Cowboys, presented by Black Rifle Coffee Company. This segment of the show is brought to you by Quaker Oats, a super trusted superfood. Quaker Oats, official oatmeal sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys. Gentlemen, I got a bit of an announcement. Next Tuesday, not that announcement. Next Tuesday, we will be on the road for Talkin Cowboys.
Next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday.
Do I at least get some coffee?
Yes, because that's where we're going to be.
What?
Black Rifle Coffee Company up in, I don't know if they consider it Prosper or just North Frisco, but we're up the tollway.
Do we get a Black Rifle with it?
Yeah, they said. I had a quote from our Black Rifle Coffee representative. He's a great dude, Ryder. He told me yesterday, and I quote, you can have as much coffee as you want.
High five. RTT.
Nice. But it's a whole thing. They're having the grand opening of a brand new brick and mortar show, brand new brick and mortar store up the tollway. You can come and join us. We'll give you more details as we get closer, but we'll have our show same time, 9 to 9:45. We'll be live on site. Come stop by. Plan on stopping by next Tuesday up here in North Frisco, Prosper area. I'll give you the exact address as we get down the line.
Fun.
Just keep that in mind. Should be fun coming up on Tuesday. All right, let's take a look at this Eagles offense. Weapons. Weapons everywhere.
They have that?
They certainly do. A.J. Brown, one of the best wide receivers, if not the best in 2023
He has to be
in
considered the
football.
best.
Right now, he has to be because he's putting up unbelievable numbers.
Over Tyreek? What are we doing here?
Okay, we can say NFC. We'll say NFC.
Okay.
We'll say NFC.
Okay, that's
the
fair.
last 9 games, what has he done?
100 yards, 100 yards,
125. 125 plus yards in his last 9 games.
That's fair.
Let me look back and forth.
I'm taking Tyreek.
Oh, I mean, I love the explosiveness of Tyreek. Listen. No, I love the explosiveness of Tyreek.
Can we talk about this?
No, better receiver or more explosive receiver? Those are 2 different conversations.
Both of those conversations result in me saying Tyreek Hill.
A.J. Brown has been doing things.
He has.
I mean, he has been unreal.
So that right there, what we just did right there is the problem with this part of the business. Is that as soon as you try and sit there and mention somebody else, it all of a sudden sounds like you're talking somebody else down. Nothing on this side of the table ever said anything negative about A.J. Brown.
Yeah.
He's a monster. Yeah. Awesome. Love to have him.
Yes.
I will take Tyreek Hill.
That reminds me of
please.
Tyreek Hill, he changes the dynamic of the defense.
Yes, he does.
Yeah.
I saw a tweet last week. It was like, man, I really like pancakes. So like the first comment was like, why do you hate waffles so much?
But either way, he's
amazing.
He's insane.
Yes.
He's been incredible. Devontae Smith's been playing well. Jalen Hurts, Dallas Goedert, DeAndre Swift in the backfield. That's a new wrinkle that the Cowboys haven't seen just yet. I mean, there are guys to give them the football to. And then, Isaiah, I know the way that you've talked about it in the past, this RPO game has given Dallas fits.
Yeah.
Do you anticipate that again on Sunday?
I do, unfortunately. I don't. The only team that Dallas has faced this year that remotely resembles what the Philadelphia Eagles offense does is Arizona.
Yeah, Arizona.
And that was just a smidgen.
Oh, let me look back. How did that go? Oh, never mind.
I mean, they literally just run a fraction of what Philadelphia's offense is. But as we talked about it that week, I told you what, that offense was going to give them problems.
Wait till we talk about the defense tomorrow.
But I mean, like I foresaw that being a problem against Arizona because they had a little bit of resemblance as what the Eagles do, and the Eagles obviously are the originators of it. So I foresee it still being a problem. I do believe that you can find a way to slow it down. I don't know about shutting it down, but you could definitely slow it down. But Coach Dan Quinn is going to have to clearly communicate and get these guys to truly trust their responsibilities. Because with this type of offense, you want to do more. Like, I want to stop that guy that's going over there, but that's not my job. It's not my job. I got to stay here. Even though Nick's not going anywhere, I got to stay here and I got to look at Nick and I got to make sure he doesn't do anything. But my eyes are looking over there like, crap, he has the ball. You know what I'm saying? So, like,
I'm the more dangerous.
Yeah, I figured that much. But that's the challenge with this offense, playing against this offense, because you get caught trying to figure out what should I be doing. And if everybody just locks in on the responsibilities that Coach Dan Quinn and the rest of the defensive staff is going to put on paper and say, hey, I just need you to worry about Kyle. Just lock in on Kyle. Even if he doesn't do anything, just take care of him. Right? That's the most difficult in the thing, to just do your assignment, right? Just do your job.
It's like DUI.
Do your job. It's the hardest thing.
Acronyms aren't his thing.
That's not my thing. My mind works too fast. But DYJ, just do your job. But that's the most difficult thing because there's so much going on. In the moment that you try to, you know what, I'm going to help him out. He needs some help. That's when you get got.
What do you think whenever what challenges this defense the most whenever you look at the Philadelphia offense?
Probably that tush push. No, I would say that there's going to be so much talked about that, so I had to mention that real quick because I think it's funny.
Did you see somebody clipped it, and it was Nick Sirianni staring at the camera in the press conference, and he was trying to make a statement. He was like, if everybody could stop it, or if everybody could do it, they would. Like, we're the only ones that could do it that way. And then it showed them like getting stopped by Washington, and the tush push got beat.
He bothers me. So I would say, and it's so funny too, because like you cover the Cowboys and people think that like you're a fan of the Cowboys and you hate the Eagles, and I'm, because I have friends that are Eagles fans and stuff like that. I'm just like, there's nothing I dislike about the Eagles. Like they're loaded. I love watching them play. Everything is like that. Sirianni on the sideline bothers me.
Yeah,
I would say that. Yeah, that would probably be the biggest thing.
I would agree there.
Reminds me of the Oregon coach.
I can't get past.
The wrong way.
I can't get past.
Same type of energy, right?
It is, but I cannot agree.
It's gross.
There's a moment that will always stand out.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
There's a moment that will always stand out to me from the Super Bowl, and it's, you know, him trying to talk smack to the Chiefs and telling them to back up, and literally Jalen Hurts has got to tell him to like put his hand down, and it just was very like, I don't know, like, yeah, it's very like the only people that think this is cool are people that are just diehard fans of this team. There's no unbiased person watching this right now that does not think that this is just silliness, you know. So, yeah. So sorry, you brought that up, so it triggered me.
No,
I apologize.
Good head coach, but he is annoying.
Yeah, absolutely.
I agree.
Yeah. No, obviously, very good head coach. Everything about Jalen Hurts is, you know, because as Isaiah said, you know, and a lot of things that Isaiah mentioned are things that the Cowboys didn't get in as detailed as he did after the game. But after that Arizona game, there was a lot of talk of what he said about a lot of that, like, not, you know, trying to do more, doing other than just your job and things like that. And that is being done with a team that if you're putting their players in line with what the Eagles have, it's not even close. I mean, for one, the Cardinals haven't even won since.
Yep.
Two, the Cardinals, the key player in all of that, got traded yesterday in Dobbs. So it's not like they, you know, and so you look at the Eagles roster, and there's just part of me that takes myself back to Arizona and thinks, so you're going to do something similar with considerably better players? Like, I do think that the Cowboys will be more up for this game. I do think there was a little coming into the Arizona game kind of maybe riding a little too high off the first two games, thinking they would just show up, blow them out. I don't necessarily see that in this game, but I wonder how they'll play from behind, because I don't think the Cowboys will get out to a lead early. That would be the recipe, obviously, is for them to get out to a lead early, make Philly play from behind. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think that Dallas is going to have to come from behind in this game, and this is going to be a tough team to do that against. So if you're the Cowboys defense, the biggest thing that I think you have going for you is that you're outstanding at taking the ball away, and this is a quarterback that you can take the ball from. Mm-hmm. And I find it hard to believe that if we sit here next week talking about a Cowboys win, that it would not include multiple takeaways.
Okay.
I think there's a really good opportunity for a very specific defensive lineman coming into this matchup. Do we want to make any guesses? I like a guessing game.
You like a guessing game?
I do.
Very specific. I'm just going to say Micah Parsons right off the jump. What do you think? D-Law. Okay.
Osa? It's Osa. It's Osa Odigizua.
Okay.
We've seen him take that next step in pass rush so far this season. Obviously, the run game's going to be a big part of what they try to do on Sunday afternoon. So being able to defend the run, probably most important. Mm-hmm. But when you look at the offensive line for Philly and what they've had to kind of do at right guard and do a little bit of juggling, there's a really good opportunity for him to hone in on his pass rush as well again. I want to see him get home. I think he can be the aggressor and kind of setting that tone for the defensive line on Sunday, because when you look at that offensive line, man, they are stacked, and they do a really good job both on the outside and the interior. But that one little hole at right guard, it's been kind of mixed up for them as the season has gone on. So I think Osa Odigizua, you get him in there. He has his best game of the season. I think that generates a couple of turnovers.
One of the texts from the 213 says Dak will use his legs and keep the Eagles offense on the bench and lead the Cowboys to victory on Sunday. I like it. I mean, I like the thought process here, but Jalen Hurts can use his legs as well. And that's where I feel like Osa Odigizua has to be stout in the middle of that defense. I think it's the way that he helps anchor when he's not really been the anchor. He needs to continue to control the line of scrimmage, not be pushed backwards. Isaiah's broken it down, I think, 50 times on Film Room the last 4 years since we've been doing it, of guys getting washed off the line of scrimmage. Osa can't afford to do that. Mm-hmm. Jonathan Hankins can't afford to do that. Mozzie Smith, Neville Gallimore, Chauncey Golston, whoever is in there cannot afford to get washed off the line of scrimmage. If you can control the line of scrimmage, it at least gives the guys around you a chance to make a play, even with the misdirection and with some of the reads that they're going to have to be making.
I do agree with you in the sense that I believe that the greatest playmakers have to come from the interior defensive line. I think it has to be Osa or Jonathan Hankins. I think either one of those guys, I'm on board with it. Because teams that like to do a lot of misdirection, right, they're typically pulling guards and pulling tackles and running tight ends across the formation and just crisscrossing all the time. The one thing that disrupts all that is interior disruption. If you have a guy in the middle that blows it up, guys can't pull, guys can't run they can't cross the formation, they can't do any of those things that they want to do. It really causes a lot of issues. Now, the defensive ends obviously are always these offenses are made to stop the feet of defensive ends. So D-Law, Micah Parsons, their eyes are going to be all over the place, right? That's the most difficult thing. But if you have some dogs in the middle that can literally disrupt and blow up the interior offensive line, and now all of a sudden they're a yard in the backfield and tight ends are getting bumped off, right? Yeah. And guards can't pull. Now all of a sudden they can't run their offense. You got to remember, they changed offensive coordinators. And I think he's just now starting. What's his name? His name is Johnson.
Yeah, Brian Johnson.
Yeah, Brian Johnson's a new offensive coordinator, right?
Yeah, it was Dak's quarterback coach at Mississippi State.
There you go. Okay, so he's just now starting to figure out how to get this offense to move. You remember they had some early season struggles in terms of offense because they had offensive coordinator change. Okay, offensive coordinator left and went to the Colts. Yep. But now Brian Johnson, he's now the guy. And he's just now starting to get some tread on the tires in terms of, okay, I'm figuring this thing out in terms of play calling. Because early on, everybody was trying to figure out what's different. The weapons are the same. You know, this offense is the same, but something's just off. Well, he wasn't really calibrated with those guys yet, but I think he's starting to catch tread. But if you could disrupt what's going on in terms of what he knows is tried and true, I think you can cause a lot of confusion for him. And now all of a sudden you get him outside of what they typically should be doing, and he starts trying things out, and that's how you can get these guys off guard.
Would you have Micah rushing up the middle more in this game, or keep the plan pretty similar to what you do against other teams with him, where he's predominantly out on the edge?
I want him on the edge.
Yeah.
I want him on the edge. I just think that you ask D-Law to be D-Law. D-Law's been very productive, but I think D-Law has to be a madman. I really do. I didn't say Micah because I expect Micah to play at a certain level. Yeah. D-Law is very effective. It is very effective in what he does, but I need him to be a complete just madman on Sunday. And if you have both of those guys just blowing things up, I'm talking about restricting the holes, condensing everything. Now all of a sudden you can get them to play a game that they really don't want to play. And I'm less concerned. I'm less concerned about Jalen Hurts trying to get out the pocket and force something to happen than it actually being designed. So I think if you can get them outside of themselves, again, by disrupting what the offensive coordinator wants to do, by blowing everything up in the middle, stopping the runs, shutting down Swift in the inside like you've been doing to most running backs, and not allow these guys to get that running portion of their game going, now all of a sudden they're going to start trying to search. Right now they're searching, and now that's the game that you want to play. If you had to shut down one aspect of the game, you want to get ready to run. Because even though they do a great job, they have great receivers, all those things, Jalen Hurts can throw on the run, you still would much rather have Micah Parsons chasing down Jalen Hurts as he tries to throw the ball than allowing Swift to freaking run the ball up the middle. I think you would.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would much rather have that as an option because at least it gives you a shot and it could possibly force you into a takeaway too. Because if you force Jalen Hurts into a bad decision, he's going to throw an interception. He's had 8 picks this year.
There you go.
One of the top interception throwers in the NFL at the moment as we go into Week 9. So the opportunity is there. Yep. You got to stand strong up front to give the opportunity for everything else to grow from there. So should be a fun one, defensive matchup. We'll talk about it a little bit more on Friday as well when we get into our specific key matchups with Nick Harris. But when we come back, we take a look around the NFL with John Machota from The Athletic. We're going to talk about it. JM takes us around the NFL when we come back with more Talkin Cowboys right after this.
They say champions are remembered, but legends are never forgotten. United Ag & Turf offers a winning lineup of John Deere equipment built to tackle any challenge on and off the field. Legendary John Deere tractors, combines, residential mowers, commercial mowers, compact construction equipment, Gator utility vehicles, and a full line of golf and sports turf equipment. United Ag & Turf, the official Ag & Turf equipment supplier of the Dallas Cowboys. Visit UnitedAgAndTurf.com to find a location near you.
Are you ready to take coffee off your grocery list forever? Black Rifle Coffee Club is here to help. As a Coffee Club member, you'll get your favorite coffees roasted, packaged, and shipped to your door free of charge on your preferred schedule. Set it, forget it, and never run low on coffee again. Members also get exclusive deals on coffee, products, and discounts from partner brands. Ease your mind and let Black Rifle worry about your coffee supply. Go to blackriflecoffee.com to join the coffee club today.
It's the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys, Jack Black. And right now, Cowboys fans can get 15% off their $75 order. Plus, because every deal needs a playmaker, your order will include a free 5-piece skincare set and free shipping. The Jack Black Playmaker is 4 of Jack's favorites and a full-sized intense therapy lip balm. Make a play for the playmaker at getjackblack.com/Cowboys with the code CowboysVIP. That's getjackblack.com/Cowboys with the code CowboysVIP.
Todd thought it would be secure to jog in the cheetah savanna. Todd believed the big cat repellent he bought online was reliable. And now, Todd is trying to be faster than this cheetah that can run 80 miles per hour. But the good news is, Todd has AT&T 5G that is fast, reliable, and secure. And he learned the best thing to do is stop running and toss her the backpack with the beef stew. AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure. It's not complicated.
5G requires compatible plan and device. 5G may not be available in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
Back to Talkin Cowboys.
Back here on Talking Cowboys, final segment from the SWBC studios at the Star in Frisco. The segment is brought to you by Invisalign, the official smile of the Dallas Cowboys, with Isaiah Stanback, John Machoda, Nick Harris, Chris Beam. I'm Kyle Yeomans. All right, John, what are we looking at around the NFL?
I mean, I think the biggest story, and might even be bigger than, and probably is, than the moves that happened during the trade deadline, are that late last night, I'm about to go to bed, and all of a sudden I see that the Raiders fired head coach Josh McDaniels and general manager Dave Ziegler, and had a statement and everything. And this comes on the heels of many people thinking that they would have traded Devontae Adams or made some more moves after losing Monday night to the Lions. And really, you don't see a lot of things like this happen, especially right during the trade deadline. The GM and the head coach. And then to have a statement out and everything like that late at night, just pretty wild from that perspective. So I just don't know if you guys had thoughts on that, because to me, I was stunned. I mean, I guess I shouldn't be just because of where this Raiders team was going, but just because it was right at the trade deadline, or right after it, I should say, it was a little surprising to see that news come in late at night.
I'm surprised they jumped ship that early, and the timing of it is definitely weird. Not only the trade deadline, but you're coming off a Monday night game against one of the better teams in the NFL, and you hung with them for a little bit. It's not like you got blown out of the water, and you still have really good pieces on that team. Devontae Adams, Josh Jacobs, Jimmy G's led a team to a Super Bowl. They're only a half game out of second place in the West. So, the timing was weird for me, and now they're paying an ungodly amount of money to both Josh McDaniels and John Gruden to not be their head coaches right now. So that's going to make their next search a little bit more interesting.
I wasn't surprised. I really wasn't surprised. You think about the Davis family and the things that they've always done. When they're done with you, they're done with you. Right? I mean, that's just facts, right? When that's one thing I do respect about them, right? When they make a decision, they make a decision. Whether it's right, wrong, indifferent, whether you believe it or not, whether you agree, they make a decision, they stand behind it. And I think that they needed to send a message to this team. They truly needed to send a message to this team, because anybody who's been keeping an eye on the Raiders, this team, they've been losing the locker room, right? Josh McDaniels has never had the locker room of any locker room, I don't think, in the history of Everton. So when you see him become a head coach, I think if you're on that team, you're like, oh, crap. You know, he just has not had a lot of success, nor have you ever heard anybody yelling at the mountaintops about how great of a head coach he is. So I think that was an error. I think they forced that off the heels of the Gruden situation. I think they just went with something just to kind of steady the ship. And I don't truly...
You don't think that was going to improve their chances of getting Tom Brady?
No. You
don't think... Hey, hold on. I mean, I don't want to say that. Never mind. Go on. Keep going.
Hold back on that.
Yeah. Not appropriate.
So I mean, hats off to them for making a decision, standing on it, knowing, cutting bait, right? Sometimes you got to cut bait. Sometimes you're going to lose some money. We talked about this in reference to draft picks yesterday, leading up to the trade deadline. Sometimes you're going to take a short-term L for, in terms of finances or salary caps or whatever in order to have the long run. And I think that's where this Raiders organization is. They were losing Devontae Adams. Max Crosby's name had came up in trades, which is insane, right? So it's like some of your key pieces, guys who were tried and true, loyal as all get out, well respected around the league, you were starting to lose those guys.
Yeah.
And if you lose those guys, then you lose all the leadership on your team. And this whole ship has been ran into the ground, honestly, over there since they built the new stadium.
It's a beautiful stadium.
It's an amazing stadium, but the team has not been led since that happened. And I think they want to get on track.
And a small layer added to the frustration there really quick is the fact that both of their first 2 draft picks have not been well. Like Tyree Wilson has struggled bad, and Michael Mayer, he's only found his stride once this season, which has really surprised me. I think that's more of a developmental thing because Michael Mayer hasn't. And then Tyree Wilson has been awful when he's seen the field. So that's probably part of the frustration. Like, imagine if there was a losing going on here, 3-5 or whatever. It would be like, well, and look at Mozzie Smith, and it would just be like the.
And they had some off the field stuff too with some of their other guys that are no longer with the organization. So I mean. Yeah, they need a new direction.
Yeah,
I'm not surprised by the move. I think the way that it happened and the timing that it happened is kind of interesting. I mean, you think about when the GM position is needed the most, and it's not the number one day on the NFL calendar, but it's very high up there. Trade deadline day is a big day for NFL GMs, and the fact that maybe teams wanted to deal for Devontae Adams and couldn't get a hold of him because he was, packing his desk up might have been one thing. That's just a weird timing for it, but I get needing to make a move. Maybe the head coaching thing, but you also, now that I'm even talking through this, you never want to allow a GM that's on his way out the door to make a move that could hamstring you for the rest of the next tenure of whoever's about to replace him.
I mean, if Devontae Adams is your cornerstone on offense and Max Crosby is your cornerstone on defense, and the ship was going the direction it was going, if you don't pull a move like that, what are you telling them?
That they
just hold on,
just hang on,
just hang on. Trust me, we're gonna get this thing right. No, you're not getting it right. Now you fired a head coach and the GM in the middle of the season, even though you're in that striking distance of leading the division. And guess what? They know now. Okay, all right, you're serious about this. Okay, I'm not gonna jump ship yet. I was about to jump off. Right, Devontae Adams. You see him the other day. He was about to jump off. Right, so now he's like, all right. Let me wait this thing out. Let me see what y'all talking about.
I love Isaiah's admin voice when he gets a little laughy. And
serious. Devontae Adams was about to implode. If he was a cartoon character on Looney Tunes, he had to.
So, okay. And I agree with you, but in watching that game, I do have to say that when you sat back just now acting like, he can at least be cool with it. Part of the reason he's throwing his helmet is because of the quarterback play, and that didn't get fixed yet last night. So
that didn't get fixed, but these guys were the reason why his guy is no longer at quarterback.
That's true. Good point. Yeah.
So you want to communicate something to him?
Yeah.
That's saying, hey, that's on me.
Yeah.
It's my fault for letting these guys make a decision because we know why you came here.
Right.
We know you came here to play with your boy, and now we got rid of your boy because of these two guys. So we're sorry. We're sorry. We'll fix this in a little bit. But hey, I have to do this so that you know that I'm trying to fix this.
Yeah.
I can't keep these guys in place and tell you on the side, hey, we're going to take care of you on the back end. Just get through the season. Like, no, cats aren't hearing that.
No, they want to win.
Yeah.
They also just fired the OC like 30 minutes ago.
Whoa.
Yep.
So they're completely clearing house.
Yeah.
The other thing that whenever I try and put these headlines together, the other thing I always try and, if there's anything NFC East related, I feel like fans care about that probably a little bit more than maybe what's going on in Arizona. So we talked a little bit about the trade deadline, obviously, early in the show, but I wanted to talk specifically real quick about the Commanders and just the fact that, there's new ownership there. They make these moves. They trade Sweat to Chicago for a second rounder. They trade Chase Young to San Francisco for a third. So now next year, they have a 1, 2 2s, 2 3s, and then their 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th. So it just seems like, and especially because the ownership, has ties with the Philadelphia 76ers, it does seem like that they are this is going full rebuild type thing. And the Cowboys haven't played Washington yet. So there's a part of you that if you're a Cowboys fan, you got to be like, well, this looks good for these next 2 games against them, especially because there's been times, last game of the regular season, where they've been a little bit of a thorn in your side. So there's part of you that probably likes that. But then the other part is you have to be somewhat concerned that what if they get this right? And what if they hit on these draft picks and they turn this thing around? Now, The only reason I use this as an example is just because it's been a while since the Commanders have been a team where you're just, if you're following the Cowboys, that you're looking at them, that like, oh yeah, we got to worry about them. It's been a little. So maybe this heads it in the right direction. But for this season, I know that they would probably hate to see Chase Young go to a team that Cowboys probably will have to go through in the postseason.
Yep.
But just I want to get your guys' thoughts on them really making those two key moves and then what it means for them going forward.
I thought it was really interesting, Jonathan Allen, and you broke it down on one of the national segments a couple weeks ago, just bleepity bleep bleep bleepity bleep about how he's sick and tired of losing. And then just a couple weeks later, they trade his two running mates. I mean, Chase Young and Sweat are out the door, and now he's all alone, just sitting in Washington currently. So, I mean, I don't.
They're like, Jonathan, you think it's bad right now?
Yeah, just wait. Here's your just wait.
Yeah. I think this is more about getting some resources for Eric Bieniemy. You don't go out there and acquire Eric Bieniemy to leave him in the situation that he's in. So I think that you're going and saying, hey, all of our investments were into this defensive line, right? And these guys are good. They're really good. But guess what? These guys aren't scoring us any points. All of a sudden, we have probably one of the greatest offensive minds in football that's now on our team. Let's get him some help.
You said it when we were watching the game the other day when they were cutting in with Philly and Washington highlights. You said, "Hey, Eric Bieniemy's not going to be bad in Washington forever. He's going to find a way to make some plays and piece that thing together." It may not happen this year,
correct,
but it might happen down the road if you're able to hold on to him as a coordinator.
That's interesting. I'm glad you brought that up because so I guess I didn't think of it from that perspective. So I was thinking that maybe it's going to be a full clean out after the season, but you guys don't think that?
They didn't get rid of any offensive pieces.
Yeah.
They didn't get rid of Terry McLaurin.
This is giving Eric Bieniemy and say, hey, we got you. Like, we know you're trying to figure it out, but hey, this offseason, we promise you.
Yeah.
We're going to give you all the assets that you need to go out there and turn this offense into as much as possible, what we've seen you do down in Kansas City.
It may be one of those kind of halfway rebuilds, like where they rebuild the defense with draft picks and then split some of those draft picks with the offense and try and find you a quarterback, because that's the number one thing.
They're going to have to go take a quarterback.
They got to go find a quarterback, yeah.
And it could be a situation, too, where they look up and see where their current draft positioning is at whatever record that they have and be like, hey, let's trade away a couple pieces and try to lose a few games and get higher on that draft list, because I think once you get after pick 14, you're looking at a second-round type quarterback. Like,
this is a fun quarterback class, by the way.
It is, but I think your best-case scenario after pick 14 would be like Quinn Ewers. I think Penix goes above 14.
Right now,
I think he goes above 14.
What about our receiver?
Oh, yeah, Jalen Polk.
Yeah. I just think it would be so funny.
Yeah, those
it
would
just be so
dudes.
funny if Michael Penix goes to the rival and you have to sit there and.
Oh, yeah.
Well, he already plays for Washington.
Look at that.
But
I see what you did there.
Washington, the Commanders, would currently hold the 11th pick in the draft if the season ended today with their 3-5 record. So they've got a little bit of a ways to go to be in really the sweepstakes to go get a quarterback.
But you by acquiring picks, that always gives you leverage for negotiations.
Sure.
Yeah.
Always. So it's not a bad move.
For sure.
Either you have negotiating power or you have power to go out there and just assemble and start assembling your squad for the future.
Yeah, that's the other part I was thinking. Like, just when I saw the list of all the picks that they had, I'm like, are they picking all with these guys, or is this ammo to kind of put together to possibly move up? Because, like you mentioned, if you're going to do that, it's probably for that quarterback. Yep. So
you think about the fact that Chicago traded that second-round pick for Sweat. That's a high second-round pick. Right now, that pick is sitting at 37.
They gave up. What did they do for Chase Claypool?
A second.
Okay.
That organization makes no sense to me.
Yeah.
It makes no sense to me.
It was a 25-second.
It feels like an 11-year-old playing like Madden GM.
And it will be Madden GM when they get Caleb Williams and Marvin Harrison Jr.
You're exactly right.
Yeah, one because they still have 2 and 3 in the draft. But, yeah, very interesting across the board.
Who's got one right now?
Arizona.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. Arizona's got the number 1
pick. The
pick.
GM in Chicago's been doing a good job since he got there, since he took over that position. He's been positioned there. He missed on the Claypool, but other than that,
I don't know.
They've lost a lot of games.
I'm just saying. I'm not saying for this year. I'm talking about like in terms of his position, what he's doing, building this roster towards the future. Sometimes it's not the same year type of deal.
I'm not spending a second-round pick on Montez Sweat. That's just me personally.
No,
maybe, but every dog has his day. I guess.
Well, what's the highest you would have went? Like a third or? You wouldn't even do a third?
I don't love Montez Sweat.
Okay.
I think I should probably preface, but I'd go like a 4th.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's me not loving Montez Sweat. Yeah.
What would you have done for Chase Young?
Chase Young, I would have. You could have talked me into a second, I think, just because he's still young and he was in a situation early in his career where he he wasn't on the field because of injuries, or he was not able to he wasn't able to produce just in general. So there's a lot of hope still there for Chase Young, and I'm not saying there's not hope with Montez Sweat. I just think the talent level is obviously much different.
The talent level is more significant with Young, but the availability of Sweat has been much better than Young across the years. But watch, now that he's in a competitive organization, he's with this defensive front, he's with the guys around him, some of those ailments that have kept Chase Young out of ball games in the past is just going to float off into the distance, and he's going to be available quite a bit.
He's going to be
that's how it's going to go.
Just cutting into Randy Gregory's time?
Yeah, that's what's happening. That's exactly what's happening. Remember when we thought that was going to be something? Well, no, nobody ever thought that was going to be anything. All right. Anything else?
No, that's
National news and notes. We got to get out of here. We got Cowboy Storyline coming up at 10 a.m. Central Time. You can get on the phone lines now, 888-855-2297, to talk with Nick Eatman about this Philly and Dallas matchup. We'll be back tomorrow, 9 a.m. Central Time, previewing the Cowboys defense or Cowboys offense versus the Philly defense with a little bit of QB vision. So we'll have the full scouting report from Isaiah Stanback, and we'll continue looking ahead to this Week 9 matchup. For Chris Beam, Isaiah Stanback, John Machota, Nick Harris, I'm Kyle Yeoman saying so long from the Star in Frisco. We'll see you tomorrow with more Talking Cowboys.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys? Yeah!